Hi, it's me again. In this clip, I'm going to talk about what I like to refer to as the mama's test or the mother's test. Right? I actually stumbled across this idea while, talking to my students in a class. Right? About a couple of weeks ago, in a communications class, managerial communications class, I was talking to students about, what they should do when they are in doubt, because we had a very heated discussion and debate in the class that afternoon in Clayton campus about some political issues right after the presentation by one of the groups in the class. So we have a very active argument and debate, and of course I also got involved, trying to look at things from both sides and trying to so-called make some peace or maintain some peace in the classroom. But overall, I must say that they have handled it really well, like mature adults should, and I'm also really impressed by the amount of knowledge that they have on certain political issues. I must admit, some of which I wasn't even very familiar with in that part of the world. All right, so I was there sitting and listening, and then after all the discussion, all was said and done, I did a bit of debriefing and gave a bit of my perspectives. So I told them, from what I gather, politicians really are a special class of human beings that have the spine of a starfish, or I don't know what analogy was given, the common analogy, but anyway, as they say in politics, there's no permanent friends, there's no permanent foes. So what do we do about this group of people? Unless or until we want to get involved in politics, most of us do not want that. All right, we just want to be self-subsistent. We want to be independent. We want to be doing things that we find are meaningful, right? As long as we don't want to get involved or do not want to have a political career, we should have a certain stand on this special group of people called the politicians. The stand is that we never believe what they say, all right? Never believe what they say, because all they say is for our own good. All they say they do is for our long-term future, right? Which political leader do not say that? That is the only way they can get us to, they can get us to vote for them. They can, manipulate us for better or for worse. For better or for worse, right? So I always believe what Jim Rogers have said. He said that politicians, they don't think about long term, they only think about the next term, right? Which to that I strongly agree. That which politician care for the long-term future of their country? Well, I guess that, they care more about the next term, if they get elected or not, and if they don't get elected, what will they do so that they can be re-elected or win the subsequent elections. That's what that's what's on their mind all the time. So to believe them and to go out on the streets to support or go against certain groups, certain party, exposing ourselves to the lives, exposing ourselves to the dangers that will threaten our lives. Sometimes, in my selfish mind, I think it is not very wise to do, right? You have more important things to do, you have more important people to to protect your children, your parents, your family. So so what do we do about this group of people? What do we do about this fact? Well, it's good to know what they do, you know, the announcements they made on the news, you know. Just read the headlines, I think it's good enough, you know. If you have a bit of extra time, you can just read up. If you have some interest in that area, obviously you read up more. But you want to do things in a more objective manner, right? Do not put your emotions into it, right? Because if you put your emotions into it, you know, you're really fighting somebody else's war, right? You're really a pawn in somebody else's game, right? And yet your time in this world is limited, right? The time in this world for you to do something that is meaningful to you is really, really limited. So why spend too much time in the coffee shop, all right, or on the internet discussing, condemning, you know, supporting certain fractions in the politics, you know, political world? Don't have to do that. And you know, because everyone is in for themselves. Every politician just think for themselves, and they need the people, right, under the influence to do certain things to advance their own personal interests. Trust me, I think you know, I think this is the reality, right? I mean, this is all human nature. That's why capitalism worked in a way, and communism doesn't work, because nobody will care about the common goods of everyone, right? It's a good virtue to have, but a lot of us do not have that, and we have to accept the fact, right? Not because we like it, but because we want to be more objective in order to survive and thrive in this world. So so what do you do when you're in doubt? What do you do when, you know, two political parties or two politicians arguing points that, you know, that both you know, make sense to you, resonates with you? Who do you choose? What stand should you make? The best stand that you should make, right? It was at that point when I was talking about this issue, I came out with this sort of epiphany, which I think is really honest one, as far as I'm concerned. It's the mama's test. Because in common law, you know, in law of contract, we look at the, you know, in common law, in criminal law, you know, we look at the reasonable man's test, right? Whether a person have done something that's reasonable or not depends on what any other reasonable man would do. So the mama's test is I think the best test, right, that you should take when you are in doubt. So you can ask your mom, really talk to her personally, whether she supports or what her take is, all right? What kind of answer she could provide you. Sometimes some issues might be too sensitive to really ask your mom. You could also imagine, right, what your mom would have said, because, you know, you have a relationship with your mom close and long enough to know what her answer would be for that question. So you don't necessarily have to ask her, but you want to imagine what she would have done if she was in your shoe, right? Or even the father's test, you know, what she would have said in your best interest. And fathers and mothers are absolutely selfish, right? Human beings. And they are honest about it. The good thing is they are honest about it, because there's really nothing wrong being selfish, right? But it's very sinister to be selfish and be hypocritical about it and say that it's for your own good. That's what politicians always do all the time throughout history, right? Whether they carry a spear in their hand or an iPhone, they still behave the same. Has never changed through the generations. So do the mama's test when you're in doubt, and that is the best test that you could do. That is the best thing you could do for yourself. and for people who love you, including your mom, of course. Think about that. Thank you. Bye bye.